Hello, this is Stevenson Science. So today I'm going to take you through a short 10-minute thereabouts clip of me coaching. So within this particular session, I'll be taking two course friends of mine through some Olympic lift derivatives. These derivatives consist of a mid-thigh high pull. So it is predominantly a power movement. So it is classed as a Olympic lifting derivative, as it, although it doesn't necessarily transfer to a a proper Olympic lift, i.e. a snatch or a power clean, but it does have similar transfer to them. So as you can see right there, I have the bar in a wide position, which is how a Olympic snatch or power snatch would be positioned in terms of your handling. But where I have it as well, you have a hang position. So the bar isn't necessarily going to be balanced on your knees, as I'm pointing out to my course mates doing this. But this also allows triple extension, which is what I've just done. So from the ankle to the knee to the hip, as I come up there, you'll see that all three of them extend fully. But the bar also follows a natural range of motion as it comes up into a coat hanger-like position, which is what my arms were doing as well throughout that movement. They were coming up, so my elbows would be bent throughout the movement, but that will also allow for the bar to follow its natural range of movement. So you would then be in the process of getting underneath the bar at that point and getting under as quick as possible, i.e. a speed or power movement. So on the force velocity curve, this would sit with the amount of weight would be more the velocity side, so you'll be getting as fast as you can the bar up as quick as possible, to rephrase that. So as the bar would be hanging down a lot, depending on the amount of weight you've got. If it's a high amount of weight, it would be predominantly force, because it is a force development movement. But if you have a low amount of weight, it would be a velocity type of movement, so you would be getting it done in a quick amount of time. So as I'm coaching this, I go through a phase of trying to coach the movement as it is. So it is predominantly a competency sort of session. So each one of us would be going through coaching the aspects of the movement which may need to be changed or need encouraging. So on this, for example, I would say, well, in this case, the coat hanger position, well, the hanging position that you come up to, as you can see, the elbows should be fully coming up towards the ears, but in a vertical sort of fashion, rather than pulling the bar up towards your face, if you see what I mean. So the bar wouldn't be coming up anterior of your face or forward, it would be coming up in a vertical sort of motion. So so moving on from this, you would then also be able to add weight to it. So in terms of this, you would add more of a force side of the movement rather than the velocity. But in terms of going on to a full clean, full snatch, sorry, this would transfer to the catching phase. So ideally, the quicker you get the bar up, the quicker you will be able to get underneath it. So the idea of triple extending the whole body and getting underneath the bar as quick as you can identifies the full transfer from a stretch shortening cycle type of movement, in which the hips, knees and ankle fully extend, and then the ability to get under the bar as quick as you can, thus concentrically bending the knees, and that then requires a shortening of the hamstrings and the lengthening of the quads. So overall, the catching position should be nice and low depending on the amount of weight that you have on the bar. But although that being said, there is within this session one of the athletes that cannot perform a full full power snatch. This means then that the shoulder mobility isn't necessarily at a good point. So within this sort of situation, you would not compromise the lift for the movement, if you see what I mean. So if 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 for example the athlete cannot get to that end state, you would not put them through the movement with a high amount of volume. So that then stops the chances of injury occurring, but also it allows the athlete to then be able to practice in either a very, very low movement or just not at all, waiting until the injury or the twinge, as you may like to call it, wears off, and they're able then to participate again. So here, from now, we're going to go onto a full-blown snatch, which I'll be taking one of my course friends through. So here I'm going to be demonstrating it, but afterwards there is no weight put on this like was done before with the hang high pull, because given that we are on a strength and conditioning course, there is obviously certain athletes are not at a certain capability as the rest of them. So certain athletes will be at a different ability depending on the type of sport that they do or what they train naturally or within their own regime. So here I've demonstrated in essence what the power snatch from the hang would look like. So here, as you can see, I have a coat hanger sort of position. There's a triple extension of the hip, knee and ankle, but as I do that, I also have to get underneath the bar as quick as possible. So the bar follows its natural range of movement, but I get under as quick as possible. Here again, I also catch in quite a high position, so I'm not going low and bending my knees to the full extent, which sometimes is good, which is why when it comes to velocity training, the amount of force that you emit from the hang position or from the floor, depending on the type of lift that you do, will depend on the type of catch you do. So here he will be catching a high range of motion, so almost in full extension because there's no weight on the bar, and although he displays some form of competency, or in some forms a good form of competency, except without a full amount of volume on the bar, he's able then to catch it at a higher point. But if there was volume on there, it would be more a force sort of movement, so he would catch it at a lower position. And here again I've reiterated the fact that the bar moves in a forward position as he comes up. As you notice, his hips come forward and his hips hit the bar, so it's like he's pushing his glutes forward as I'm going through it here, and that also then means that his elbows come out slightly, like in front of him. So as the bar comes out in front of him, he's having then to move forward or reposition the bar upon catching it, which then means that his centre of mass is slightly displaced from the bar, so the catching point would be quite dangerous when catching it. So when it comes to the general idea of catching the bar, it should also be in that wide position as well, because your basic support in your legs would be quite wide apart as well, given that the amount of volume on the bar would be pretty large. But also, if the base of support is quite narrow, there is more chance of being off balance, especially in my friend's terms as I'm explaining. So going back through this again, the coaching competencies are reiterated. So again, in coaching it, he does tend to correct this, so it makes it a little bit easier, as you can see. But giving feedback as well. This is part of the coaching competency protocol, so I'm able then to analyse from different angles, whether it's coronal or whether it's frontal. I'm able then to correct or analyse and give feedback. So the only thing that I would say in terms of Olympic lifting and strength and conditioning as a course at university, the only thing that I would change in terms of coming to the end of the course is because it is a by research degree, you don't get certified as a Olympic lifting or coach or a strength and conditioning specialist that would go into the field ideally or into the industry ideally after university. You then have to take another course to be able to get into the industry and become certified. That I wish would have been explained to me beforehand. And as the video is as concluded now, I think that although it has been a good course to engage in over the course of 3 years, I've learnt a lot about strength and conditioning. But as the course comes to a close, I wish I have had some information regarding becoming certified as a strength and conditioning coach. I still enjoy doing that, but the underpinning science behind coaching, whether it's Olympic lifting or whether it's SAQ training or whether it's coaching the mechanics of certain movements for athletes to become competent with certain movements and to be able to improve performance and subsequently minimise injury. I think this type of course would be ideal, but if you don't want the underpinning knowledge behind the whole thing and you just want to be able to coach and become certified as a coach, I would not recommend taking a strength and conditioning degree. If you want an underpinning knowledge in general of how things are done, you can take an alternative degree, or you can take a personal training background like i.e. a diploma or something, which I already have as well. So thank you for watching my coaching competency session. Hopefully this will conclude with a summative assessment which I will take athletes through in terms of a field-based conditioning session and also a gym-based conditioning session, and the rationale behind why I've chosen those particular ones. And that will be again explained as to why I've put it in each particular phase of the season, whether that's general preparation, whether that's specific preparation, whether that's competitive or pre-competitive preparation. So yeah, thank you very much and take care.